Hi there, I'm Lily and welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is going to be the second video that I've created for my poisoned apple top pattern. It's a technique that will be used in many different patterns, but it's particularly relevant here. So in this video I'm going to be showing you how to create a button loop, such as for a keyhole neck or something like that, where you don't have buttonholes, you have button loops. So I've just filmed the other tutorial for pleats, so that's what's going on there, but we don't need to look at that today. Just done a few rows of rib as if it was a neckband. And I've actually started by, instead of cutting my yarn tail short when I finished my neckband, I cut it quite long, and then I'm going to make the button loop with that yarn tail, because why give yourself more ends to weave in if you don't need to? So I've cut that quite long and then threaded my needle with, so I folded it in half and then threaded my needle with it double stranded, which is kind of the trick here. So I'm filming this with chunky weight yarn just for ease of video, so you can see it a bit clearer. So I am going to make quite a large button loop here, but imagine the whole thing scaled down to DK weight. So we have our two layers here, two strands even. So the end of this strand I'm just going to leave there, and we'll have to weave that in later. So the trick is to, well, it's not really a trick, the starting point, we need to decide how big the button loop wants to be. And it's better for it to be a little bit snug than really loose, because then it'll just fall apart. So I'm going to imagine, because I'm doing this in chunky weight, that it's quite a large button, and kind of make it 2 fingers around there, thereabouts. That's roughly how big I'm going to make the loop there, but obviously this is easier if you have your button to hand and you can kind of guess. It would be considerably smaller in DK weight. So I'm going to guess about how long I want that to be, kind of pinch it between my fingers, and then insert my needle through the fabric at that point. So now I can kind of pull it. Let's go a little bit smaller actually. There we go. Ignore that this end is loose, we'll just deal with that later. So now we've created a loop, and then the basis of the button loop is just blanket stitch really around the edge. So I'm just going to pull through there and catch the 2 layers, so create 1 stitch of blanket stitch, and then I'm going to repeat this all the way around. So poke my needle through the loop and over the yarn so that you catch it. Oh, I'm going out of frame, like this, through the loop, but over the yarn, catch it. You want to really shove them along and make sure it's quite dense. Through the loop, catch both strands. So you're doing this whole thing with 2 strands, basically knotting into place. Get that around slightly. I'll continue this way until the end. I've just realised that I made this button loop quite ridiculously big for demonstration purposes, and I think I might be running out of yarn, so I'm going to have to stop there with the blanket stitch on here, but hopefully you can see the effect that you get, that it kind of knots onto that strand that you created. So that's now quite sturdy, no stretch there, and it's quite firm. So I would say, if you have enough yarn, which you should do, if you're not making a supersized loop like this, carry on, keep kind of scooting them along to fit in as many knots as you possibly can there, so it's nice and sturdy. And then once you get to the other end, we're just going to anchor it like you would fasten off, so into the actual fabric rather than the loop. Pull that through and fasten off, and then weave in the end on the back, just as you normally would. That's your button loop complete.